Hey everybody, welcome to my chess stream here on Twitch and LeeChess.org. I'm International Master William Paschall, streaming as Slaggy on Twitch, Sparklehorse on LeeChess.org. I think everything's working, my webcam, my audio, LeeChess and Twitch. Hopefully you can join us in the chat room. Welcome everybody there. Yeah, we are streaming everything smooth. Last time it wasn't so smooth, but that was last time. So what's up, guys? I am William Paschall. We are streaming from the US. It's 6:30, almost 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time here. You may or may not know, normally I stream most of the year from Hungary, and starting September 1st we'll be back to Hungary and streaming from European-based time. But for this month, for most of August, we'll be doing Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sunday, 10 a.m. for the European players. Welcome, Sarontier, who is one of our assistants here, clearing the chat room of the riffraff, and a good friend of the stream. Welcome, Sarontier, and what to say, guys? I haven't played any blitz today, but I was just doing a lesson with one of my students, so my mind is sharp despite not playing. Also want to congratulate one of our viewers in the stream here, Future Chess GM 27. Reached, I think I saw just a minute ago, he had reached 2300 in classical chess. So if you guys get any higher than me, you know, if you get over 24, I'm going to have to start playing some games and keeping you guys where you belong. You know, you have to know your role. So congratulations anyway to Future Chess GM 27. Also want to mention you guys can check out my views. Check out my videos on video chess training on YouTube. When I get back to Hungary at the end of this month, I'm going to be creating a lot more weekly independent material on there. But I'm also uploading the streams. Glidson P, welcome, man. You're on the list to play. And Royal Python, welcome as well. Had a draw with Royal Python in some Chess 960 correspondence game yesterday. So let's get to work, guys. If you'd like to play, I'd like to play 5 minutes to 8 minutes with like a small increment. The bigger the initial time, like 8 minutes, then the smaller the increment can be, like 3 seconds or whatever. The smaller the initial time, like 5 minutes, we can use a bigger increment, like 5 seconds or 6 seconds or whatever. So Glidson Literatura, one of our new fans here on the stream, challenging me to 7-5. Let's get it started. You can challenge me to casual or rated. Just let me know, like, if it's rated. Wake me up and say, man, it's rated. Because lately, I've been really not paying attention to the rated games. Yesterday we took a beating. Apologies for our boring 960 game. Royal Python, no apologies necessary. I have to be honest with you, I was a little concerned that I was going to be worse. So I'm as responsible for the boring Chess 960 as anybody. I kind of initiated this whole concept of exchanging pieces because I was concerned about just being worse. So it's just as much my fault. I was white too, so I have a greater responsibility. Glidson Literature likes this A3. And I'm not sure who created this trend for this variation, but it seems to me there was a Russian player playing that originally. Probably some New in Chess survey. If any of you guys subscribe to New in Chess magazine, they also have like yearbooks that have a lot of openings, or at least they used to have yearbooks that have a lot of opening surveys. Of course, a lot of this is on digital format now, I guess. Bishop G7. I like to play the dragon anyway, the accelerated dragon. So G6, Bishop G7 is a good way to answer A3, I think. So Knight C3. I mentioned to Glidson earlier that I like setups with Bishop C4, makes sense with A3, and I think he started to incorporate that after an early mishap with C3. But that is the one drawback for white, that you can't have everything. So I don't think that C3 and A3 really work together. If you do choose to play Bishop C4, it's going to be a setup that doesn't involve C3. So you might as well you might as well play knight c3 at some point. Okay, I mean there may be some Udasin, Leonid Udasin type setups with bishop c4, d3, c3. You might be able to play c3 and a3 in tandem, but here we have a blunder by white, just giving up a pawn. Is this some sort of trap? I really don't think so. I think this is a clear oversight. He was so like pumped up to play that he decided he was going to stop counting the control of d4. So, should we offer him our one take back for the day? What do you guys think? The one take back rule is in effect, where I voluntarily like give back a take back during the stream. It seems a shame to use it in the first game, and it is just a pawn. I mean, it's not like he hung a whole piece or something, albeit a very important pawn. We'll see. When you want to take back, man, this will be our one take back for the stream. It's accepted. Like, we're gonna have to give him one more. It's a double take back. Yes, go. LOL. Says Sorotia. It could have been actually, but I don't think so. I'm not buying that's a mouse slip, because you know if he wanted to play d3, he would have. You know, why would he want to play d3 anyway? Why didn't play bishop c4 here? I don't know. Nothing makes sense to me. Bishop c4, that's the best way to go. Okay. Well, he still has one other good way of developing his pieces. One more good way to develop his pieces here, at least. Alright, d6. I've always been a bigger fan of like e6, knight e7 type setups. And we're gonna do that anyway. We are gonna do that anyway. Try to keep fluidity in the pawn structure. Bishop g5. You do occasionally see these kind of provocative moves. If I could sack my queen for a bunch of material, it would be a little over the top. You know what? Maybe I'm just going to play knight e7 here. And we'll decide what to do with that bishop on g5 a little later. Sometimes you see players put it on c7 in certain positions. Maybe if I castle, he has queen d2, then I can never play h6. So I'm going to play h6 first. Yasser Seirawan is one of the best players in the last 30 years, you know, who's like an English opening aficionado. And he used to play this setup I'm playing here, like with white a lot. And oftentimes Yasser wouldn't mind, like, even not being able to castle, you know, in situations like this. It's not that big a deal if you were to be able to play, like, bishop e3, queen d2, and keep an eye on my h-pawn. Bishop h4 now. It's pretty tempting to play, like, g5 and knight g6. Pretty tempting. It's not absolutely essential, but I think it's probably okay for black. It's a little bit risky for me. Now, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But I think it's principled. It's principled for black. A very good control of the center, the dark squares. Their knight b5 was an interesting option there. GL. I think you should probably take advantage of that opportunity. I'm going to stop it. I don't want to see knight b5. Can move on to other business anyway. I mean, b5 and bishop b7 is one way to develop both bishops on the long diagonals. So what's up, guys? Don't forget you can support the stream with GoFundMe. The info is in the Twitch description. I'd like to thank those of you who have helped support my stream along with the YouTube channel. I'm really tempted to play g4 here, and it's probably best since it does win a piece. Very strange deja vu here with Glycin Literatura that I didn't trap another piece of his in a similar fashion with colors reversed. We had a few games the other day. Like, by the way, people, if you find me online and you want to play a casual game or a rated game or whatever, and I'm free, I don't mind like playing with anybody here, you know, amongst you of the stream viewers. If you want to play some games, if I'm available, just hanging out on Lee Chess or wherever. I mean, we had a couple games with Glycin Literatura, I think, the other day, and similar thing happened where he overlooked that the piece ran out of retreat squares. 91 was his only retreat square. He's fresh out of takebacks, and he does have a pawn for the piece, but it's clearly not enough. And what about my king here? I'm going to castle. Should I castle anyway? It's really where that king belongs. I mean, castling queenside in the Sicilian is possible, but in the closed Sicilian, it's actually quite rare. I also want to be able to play f5 if necessary. And I don't want to play f5 and allow bishop h5 check. Articum, hello. Thanks, guys, for joining me here. The most fun and instructive chess stream I know. Challenge me to 5 to 8 minutes. Blitz and classical. Royal Python 8-4. What are you doing, Royal Python, with the 8-4? Try to make it 8-3. He forgot the time limit. I want to give white any counterplay. So f5. It's not absolutely necessary here. I feel like it gives him a little bit of counterplay. I could take back with a knight, though. That actually looks pretty good. Take back with the knight and keep a good pawn structure. We are a clear piece up, and I'm like crying about little details in the position. So thanks for joining me, guys. We're going to try to get in maybe 10, 11, 12 games in 2.5 hours. You can also challenge me to Chess 960. I don't mind playing a couple, like 2 Chess 960 games during the stream. I agree with Articum. I don't see the benefit in bullet chess streams. I think it's just some chess player, like, you know, padding his ego by showing off, you know, how great a bullet player he is. There's no really instructional value in that. So I've got to be careful here. Glycin Literatura just did something more than save his bishop. He's actually setting up problems for me. So I need to be able to save my knight if it was to be attacked again in this position. Let's see if we can do something about it. Bishop f6. If queen f2, bishop f6. And if then e5, I take and play bishop g5. That should be okay. That should defend everything. Just gotta calculate queen f2, bishop f6, e5, take, bishop g5. No way to like win my pieces. And everything's cool. Bishop on h5, very disruptive. And one of my instincts was to play knight g6 like right away, to be honest. Looking for forks. It's funny how these two knights would like to go to f3, but it is guarded twice. There was only a way to decoy the bishop on h5. Quite a surprise for white there. 8-3 it is. Thanks, Royal Python. It's not a big deal. Occasionally I let people slip through the a4 challenge. But as it gets like bigger, you know, and worse and bigger and bigger, the streams get longer and longer. So I just have to set the limit. I realize there's not a big difference between 8-4 and 8-3. So at this point now, it feels like he's threatening. Let's see, bishop d7, knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, queen f2, bishop f6. It's all still okay, man. We're still good. So I say just develop. Just develop. Connect the rooks. In Gleitson literature, I hear blundering and exchange. Knight b3. That's going to cost him, because he's already down a piece. He's now down a full rook when I capture on a1. So I think that's going to do it for our friend. He's not one to give up, though. We've got challenges from Royal Python, Chef Master, Neverness, and Move 11. Chef Master, what's up? Again, thanks to you guys who have contributed to the stream via GoFundMe. I realize it doesn't take, it only accepts credit cards and not other stuff like PayPal, so it isn't that convenient. So I will try to get a method that accepts PayPal in there, but I'm not in a big hurry. I'm not doing this to try to like make my fortune, but I would appreciate the assistance from people who do support the stream. Mostly I'm trying to make a living by teaching chess nowadays. I'm formerly a full-time online poker player and occasionally live, but things have gotten really tough in the world of online poker, and it's quite difficult to make a living nowadays. So trying to do some chess for a change. e5, and we got a little problem here. We are up a whole rook, though, so I think we can afford to give a pawn back to Mr. Gleitson. We're going to give a pawn back, and in the form of this pawn on c5. Not a big deal. We have a lot of threats. We're up a whole rook. We're good to go, basically. He didn't take it. He played bishop f4. So now we have some new ideas, guys. New idea introduced. Other long diagonal. Double attack. Threatening knight takes g2. But I just realized, guys, that his d3 pawn was hanging in that position, so he was maybe afraid to take on c5. But I don't think it was a big deal. Everything's protected. His main problem is being down a lot of material. Even harder to make a living from poker when laws in your country are just stupid for that. Well, that's one of the reasons why people always ask me, why do you live in Hungary? And I always say, well, I went there to play chess. But the bigger answer, and I was talking about this yesterday, friends, was the bigger answer is actually, I stayed in Hungary because Hungary is a country where they haven't outlawed online poker, and although they threatened to, never actually materialized. So I was able to play full-time online poker from Hungary, where I wouldn't have been able to do that in the United States. One of the biggest reasons why I didn't ever consider moving back to the United States, the anti-poker laws here in the United States. I support the regulation of online poker, and I think it's really essential because I think there's a lot of cheating sites and there's been a lot of scandals, but I don't believe in the outlawing of online poker. I think it should be regulated, and it's good to see that 3 American states so far, have Delaware, New Jersey, and Nevada, and hopefully soon other states will follow. Don't know why Massachusetts, my home state, has not made much progress on that front. They're busy with live casinos, setting up live casinos in Massachusetts. Anyway, guys, back to chess. So new diagonal, new problems, and Gleitson literature here is toast, losing everything. He does not like to resign. He or she, actually, it could be a she. I never actually asked. We can't assume anything about people. So maybe Gleitson is a lady. I don't know. Knight takes h2 check. And are we greedy, guys? Do we want to win another rook? Yeah. We're going to go for another rook. Dual rook. We got mating chances here. Kind of my justification for this was the mate setup I'm seeing here. Knight f3 check, knight f1. I'm also threatening to win the queen. Actually, that's pretty huge. So he's well gone here. Chef Master, I always realized I played white against you even though I chose the random option. I noticed that. Would you want to take part in the WSOP? I've always wanted to take part in the WSOP. But it just didn't fit in with my plans, really, because of other responsibilities and stuff. My bankroll is really kind of thin, despite a good result in one tournament at EPT Prague. I spent most of my winnings from that, and always, my bankroll is always just thinner than it would like to be. Yeah, one day we're gonna get to the WSOP though. Get a little money in the bank. I don't think it's gonna come from chess though. It's gonna fall out of the sky one day. These things happen. Alright, so let's go. Royal Python, Chef Master, Neverness, Move 11, Edis Perpetuo, and Chewy Naka. Royal Python challenged me at 8-3. You can play poker, but casino has to pay tax to them. So if you want to play illegally, then you have to play in some local online casinos, which just sucks. Welcome to... Yeah, that's what Hungary is threatening to do too. And if that happens, then Hungary online poker is basically done. The government has talked about this kind of stuff. They've just been too incompetent to actually employ it, you know, to roll it out. But, you know, you've got a market like the size of Hungary. It's not really big enough to support, you know, it would be like one American state having online poker, which they're kind of trying to do. It's just not a big enough market. So, plus it would probably be corrupt anyway. Guys, it's been a long time since we played the Smyslov system against the King's Indian. I've been focusing more on like classical stuff. So we're going to go back to a setup that I've used a lot over the years. And maybe I haven't played this against Royal Python yet. You're a man. Okay. Bad day. Lightson said he's a man. No problem, man. Man, woman, animal, plant. It's all good. We don't discriminate against anybody. Just computers. As long as you're not silicon. That's the only thing I don't like. Plant-based intelligence, alien life, female, male, any religion. Just no silicon opponents, please. Yeah. Poker Stars is not my happy list. Poker Stars was taken over by, you know, this company called Amaya a while back, and they've basically changed the whole site into more of like a, I don't know. It's just not good for poker. So I used to play almost exclusively on Poker Stars, but I just didn't like the direction the new Poker Stars has taken. And I'm not the only one. I mean, a lot of people aren't happy with it. So we're focusing on chess. Maybe I could still become a GM. We have a little bit of time left in the time bank. I need about 100 rating points and a few GM norms. But I think that it's possible if I really, really work. Interesting question now, guys, to take back with a pawn or with a knight. I think that both moves in this particular position are viable. I'm going to opt for the pawn capture. Knight takes is also okay. A little more fundamental with the pawn here. A lot of chess players play poker. Yeah, no doubt. I want to thank Jeroen for modding here for me, by the way. D5 from Royal Python. Kudos to you, man. Sacking a pawn to try to change the structure. Nice try, dude. Very dynamic. So if I take with the c pawn, you know, he plays knight b6, and he's going to surround that guy, and I have to give up my dark squared bishop to hold on to the pawn. Probably playable for me, like pawn takes pawn, knight b6, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, or pawn takes. A good friend of mine, Bill Kelleher, has played these positions with pawn takes f6. But there is another solution. You could try here c5. This knight, I don't think is in the right place in the structure. I mean, it would really like to be on c6, where it's not blocking the bishop on c8. It's also putting pressure on d4. I'm not a big fan of playing c5, normally in Tarrasch type positions. He's trying to set up e5 here. I just think that my pieces are pretty good in this position. Rook c1. And supporting this. And now knight f8. And important moment for me, because he's got maybe bishop g4, maybe knight e6 sometimes. Important moment for me to decide what to do here. But I think we go with the classical knight e5. I'm not sure. Knight e5 looks fine. And it is a Tarrasch. It is like a Tarrasch. I'm playing the Tarrasch with colors reversed. White has a little bit of a weird formation, and I think it's okay for me, because his position is a bit weird. Ready to support with f4. Rook on c1 is really helpful. Black is a little congested here. And now it appears he's moving the knight again. He wants to play like bishop f5, I guess. Just kind of freeing his position. But I'm not overly concerned about that. We're going to expand on the queen side. We have a 3-on-2 majority on the queen side. Can I speak fluently Hungarian? I wouldn't call it fluently, no. I would say that I sound like you know, an alien who speaks but not completely fluently. But I understand much better than I speak, which is typical. I understand the 90% of what people are saying. My actual speaking is slightly below fluent. I mean, I'm fluent on a basic level, but I don't feel close to being completely fluent. Zilgaddick says, hello, not often on the stream, but it's great. You should watch more. Yeah, welcome, man. I mean, I've seen you streaming. Okay, so knight on c7 is a bad piece. He's got less space, but he got bishop outside the pawn chain. But we've got the queenside majority, like rolling. So white should be better. But we are kind of using a lot of time. Earlier I talked about f4. I don't think it's like essential, because he's not putting any pressure on my knight on e5. We really need a plan here, though. I mean, f3 actually starting to look kind of appealing to me. Kind of unusual move in this position, but I wonder if it doesn't make sense to play f3. The other thing is like g4. Maybe I could just call him into question here completely. It's pretty radical, man, and it kind of weakens my king side, but You know what? I mean, sometimes you've got to just go for it. This is going to be risky, but it's going to leave black very, very tied up. And the other thing I'm thinking about is putting my queen on b3, kind of putting pressure on this diagonal here. So we got g4 well protected. Slightly weak on my king side, but is black really in any position to rip me up on the king side? I think g4 is a pretty exceptional move. We're basically playing on both sides of the board here, which is always a somewhat risky thing to do. He's going to get some counterplay, perhaps. I have a lot of space to like maintain, and every time you take space, it's like real estate. You have to be responsible for the space you take. So, you know, it's like monopoly. I mean, the more properties you own, maybe just b5 in this position. The more properties you own, all right, let's do this. The more responsibilities you have, and it's the same thing with space in chess. I told my Monopoly joke earlier, a few streams ago. Speaking of poker players, I used to joke with a friend of mine that I had an anonymous account on the Internet Chess Club, and I used to joke with a friend that I was something like I was a tournament Monopoly player. I don't know if does that even exist? Knight takes here, e4, bishop takes e5. Man, this is getting weirder and weirder. Knight takes d7, knight takes e4. Okay, he's gonna have to give up his dark squared bishop here. Maybe I screwed there. I up-screwed. That was bad. Maybe I should have just played knight takes f7. Knight takes f7, king takes f7. Ooh. Did I have knight takes f7, king takes f7 there? Now he has a trick. Not sure how strong it is. Looks good enough. Knight takes f7, bishop e6. And if bishop c4, bishop takes c4, queen takes c4, queen d5. Getting out of it. So I guess we just have to straight away take on f7. I mean, this is a pretty horrendous position for black. And bishop c4 is pretty strong looking. Just dominating that diagonal. I know that he might trap my queen with rook f8, but it wouldn't actually threaten anything. So I was actually thinking how to mate him, but I think he's got some resources. Bishop c4, rook f8, knight takes g6, check, pawn takes g6, queen takes g6, and yeah, it feels a little too fancy. I think I should find something a little safer, maybe. I'm sure there is a really safe move here. Queen g3, queen f4, excuse me. Probably the safest. What am I actually up a pawn? Disappointing to not have some kind of knockout tactical shot there. Bishop c4 wins instantly? But how does bishop c4 win instantly after rook f8? Oh, because I have queen g8 check. Oh man, I totally didn't see it. Bishop c... Oh, you're right, Zug. Okay, I just didn't see queen g8. The smothered mate. Nah. Bishop c4 did win instantly. This is better because it tortures black more. And that's more fun, right? Torture is more fun. Bishop takes e5, not necessary for black, though. Yeah, Zug Addict, I was focusing on, like, knight takes g6 check and trying to mate him on the h-file, but that I didn't see queen. Kind of a rare combination with the bishop supporting the smothered mate. Like, I don't remember ever seeing that before. The bishop supporting smothered mate on g8. That's a pretty rare, like, sequence. Oh well. Anyway. Yeah. So Python got a little tangled up there. Guys, if somebody challenges me and, like, their challenge gets knocked down, just let me know in the Twitch stream if you lost your challenge, okay? Chef Master, Neverness. I think these guys are in the correct order at the moment. Art is dead. No, I seriously, not looking for that bishop supporting smothered mate. That's so rare, where you have such a setup like that. Chef Master. So the Scandinavian, I don't remember playing like the white side of a Scandinavian on the stream. Recently was working with a student who was playing knight f3 there. And I like queen a5. I mean, that seems like a good way to go. All right, let's play, I guess, what is the main line. I'm a little bit worried my theory here with white is kind of out of date. So you lost your challenge, Chui Naka. You're up there in like 4th place. You think you got knocked down a spot? You've been put back kind of in the middle of the order, which seems about right, Chui Naka. Years ago with black, I used to play, I think, like bishop g4. It's not excuse me, guys. Not really the best setup. So not usually coughing during the stream, but I think a little bit of water just got in my lung. Knight f3. Yeah. I get this question all the time. Is the Scandinavian good? And I was a big supporter of like d5, pawn takes pawn, knight f6. You guys can find videos online and on chesslecture.com where I did that. But as I've said many times in my stream, it seems like it's just not really reliable for black. So I think the Chef Master is on the right track. It seems as though queen a5 is indeed the best option. It's really hard to find a creative way to approach this. Sort of everything's been kind of played out. I know like some grandmasters play bishop d2. I've never really been too impressed with that move. Black's kind of delaying c6 here, no? Bishop d2. Let's try it. I really don't know the theory here. I mean, obviously, I could play knight e4. Scandinavian, though, not that easy for white. And there's been this books promoting queen d8. But, you know, to be honest with you, I really don't think that's you know, objectively black's best move. Queen a5 should be superior. A lot of trend for queen d6 for a while, and that's been analyzed pretty much to death. So I would stick with the original queen a5. I mean, it really seems like best by test if you're going to play the Scandinavian. The knight f6 lines with d5, pawn takes pawn, knight f6 are good for like rapid chess and blitz, but I wouldn't recommend playing them in long chess. It's just not that reliable. So we've got 8 challenges. Chui Naka, you're in around the right place, I think. We usually have like 10, 11, 12 games. I do a 2.5 hour stream. We're going to be streaming till 9 o'clock. Guys, check out my videos on Video Chess Training on YouTube. I do upload the streams. If you want to see a stream where you like played a game against me or something, occasionally one doesn't get through, but most of my streams get uploaded to YouTube. All my info is on the Twitch page under the stream. Also, some info in the Sparkle Horse profile on Lichess. If you're interested in lessons or just need to contact me about a chess-related question, my email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com, which I use for all chess-related stuff. So my YouTube channel is Video Chess Training, but my email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Guys, it's my pleasure to be here. Queen b6, I believe this is theory. Although, it isn't like black has to play that. I think that some players allow white to go like knight e4 and even like double the pawns on f6 sometimes. And again, my theory here is... My theory here is a little bit out of date. Never played bishop d2 seriously, so I'm just making this up. Always played bishop c4 the few times I faced it. I'd like to castle queenside. That's not really on the agenda here. Black hasn't played c6. Always makes moves like knight b5 possible in some lines. I think this pawn grab is very dangerous for black. Evo Chess says, hey, put me on the list. Well, I don't put people on the list. They put themselves on the list. You're on the list. You put yourself on the list. How long till 9 o'clock there? It's past 2 a.m. here. You've got almost 2 hours, man. So we're going to play probably 10 people. If you challenge me now, you're going to have to wait a while. But it's an enjoyable stream, so... Yeah, I'm not really one to play rook b1. Would Carlsen play like queen c1 here? No. I don't think I have to worry about like the pawn getting grabbed. I do have to worry about like some things. Maybe this is an interesting pawn sack. Like I can go bishop b3. If you take on b2, there's several interesting variations. I mean, knight b5, of course, but also just bishop b3, I think, looks very dangerous for black. When the white queen is in danger of getting trapped. So maybe, come to think of it, after bishop d2, I have seen c6 played quite a bit. And then knight e4. I think I saw a game between Carlos Matamoros and Nick DeFermian in that years ago. We need some music. Alright, so e6. Doesn't really change anything as far as like b2 is concerned. I'd love to castle queenside, too difficult to manage here. Maybe bishop b3. Looks awfully like wasting time. So I'm just going to castle. Chef Masta. I don't think either of us knows this line very well. If he knew it, he'd be moving faster. I know I don't know it. I mean, I know he can't really take this pawn. But I've never been a supporter of bishop d2. I just decided to play it to kind of avoid the main line. This is probably what he knows is like the main line. So it looks like queen takes b2, bishop b3. I don't really like, I don't like black's game there. I mean, he could go to some kind of crazy complications. Queen takes b2. I mean, even rook b1 should give me good counterplay in that position at this point. So now c6. And black's position seems viable, but kind of slow. Now queen e2 is playable. I just want to get my pieces developed somehow. Where is Nick DeFermian when I need his opinion on something? I don't know. Queen e2, bishop takes c2 though. Then bishop e3. Queen takes b2. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it doesn't look so great. There's some sacrifices on e6 when he tries to take there. Queen e2, bishop takes c2, bishop takes e6 with very, very strong attack. So we can try this. Just feels like I'm playing a normal position with my bishop on d2 unnecessarily. I'm going to play bishop b3 and just avoid worrying about it anymore. Defending both pawns. And it's looking like black is black, but he's okay here. h3. Don't really have a plan. Knight h4, not a move I like. I mean, bishop g4 there, for example. Even bishop g6 isn't too bad. So I would prefer to play like h3 probably, and just prevent bishop g4. Black should be about equal here though. h6. Alright. You get a fully developed. h6 slightly weakens the black king side, but he remains with a very, very solid position. He sidesteps knight h4, as I mentioned. Now this bishop on d2 needs to move. We have potential sacrifices on h6, of course, down the line maybe. Although it's difficult to checkmate black with a bishop on f5, h7 diagonal. I just find these openings really difficult for both sides. Rook c8 seems like a sensible kind of move. Bishop e3 blocks my queen and rook. And this is indirectly threatening c2. He could set up knight d5 as a move maybe. So where am I gonna go? If c5, I have d5 strongly. Just like bishop c1 or something looks sort of stupid. So it's very hard for white to make a constructive move in this position. Knight h4, bishop h7, and then what? Bishop takes e6, pawn takes e6, queen takes e6, rook f7, and I'm a dead end there. It's a total dead end. I'm down a piece. Bishop e3, knight d5 is a dead end. Bishop f4, just hanging out. Just putting the piece on an active square. Not a real big fan of this. I don't know. Looks like black is fully equal here. Playing, I won't say flawlessly, but not making any mistakes. Bishop f4 is not a move I'm really thrilled about, and I don't feel I have any plan. Now knight d5. And this is kind of the basis of rook c8, I think, you know, to have indirect pressure down there. So I'm going to have to take and play some lame move like c3, which I really, really hate. But when it comes down to it, at least white isn't worse. We actually might have a threat here. Knight f6 though, he's taking the wind out of that pretty well. So it's like an exchange Caro-Kann. No real advantage for white. It's going to come down to time. Just try not to be worse here. I'm used to playing black in this type of position, much more so than white in a Caro-Kann. And volume is low. I think it's usually your volume. You're the only person that has a volume problem. It's probably something on your end. If I had a general volume problem, I think that we'd get a lot of people complaining about the sound. So try turning your volume up, or checking your mic and speakers. Believe me, we'd have a lot of complaints if the volume was a problem. I'm actually American, an American who's been living in Hungary for quite a long time. Now let's move along here. So I have some tactics possibly. Not really though. We're looking for a kingside build-up. King h1 prophylactic move. He's got the queen guarding the square, which is very annoying. I just want him off of... I don't want to see e4. I don't want to see e4 as an option. Now we have the sacrifice on f7 here. Have the sacrifice on f7, but I don't see it working. Take, take, take. We need a little more support, I think. We need a little more support. Knight takes f7, pawn takes, queen takes. I didn't see the breakthrough. Bishop d6 maybe. Still didn't see it there. Try something more direct. Play for g5. He's got the minority attack. I'm going to bring this guy back here. Just so it doesn't get hit by knight h5 when I go to play g5. Can build up. He's playing rook c7, but his counterplay seems really slow. Mine seems pretty strong. I'm attacking on the king's side. He's attacking on the queen's side. His king is in the vicinity of my attack. So g5 seems legitimate. He's got this minority play, but I can just ignore it. It's kind of long-winded. Snapping this pawn and going back, and we're going to be up a pawn. Black may have some counterplay, but okay, I don't think, you know, that's really a great exchange for him. Maybe we'll switch back to tactics on the file here. Sure, a3 was really necessary, but needed to do something. Man, he's got a really sick looking king. These pieces, able to sidestep that. Now with the bishop there. Alright, bishop on h7. And I just don't see how black can live. I don't see how black can live like that. With the bishop on h7. Chefmaster really fighting me tough here. Let's just recapture. Really messy game, man. Really messy game. Neverness challenging me to 7-5 rated. Turn it up. I don't know, Salty Ego says turn it up. Turn it up. We'll try to turn it up a little bit. Turn it up. Alright. So E4. We're going to play E5. I'm kind of a lifetime Sicilian player. Guys, sorry for my rating. I rebuilt my rating since the last time you beat me. I'm still in the process of rebuilding. Yeah, I don't think... hello, chess coach. Hope you play some good games. Espresso forever. Wow. Haven't seen you for a long time, man. How's New Mexico treating you? Okay, Neverness. This is how we lost to Neverness last time in a Petrov. Okay. He played a quiet line last time. I think I played Bishop E7 right away, though. Knight C6 is a little more aggressive than that. Well, it's going to transpose, I guess. So Bishop G4 here, take, take, take. If I recall correctly, Bishop G4, Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. Is this some kind of pawn sacrifice for black? And then like F5? That looks weakening. I think I can sack a pawn in some line here. But I was sort of satisfied with the game I got. Actually, I played it differently last time. I have to look up the theory here. Possible to lose a Petrov. It's possible to lose any position. It was actually a winning position that I lost. It was much later. But I let my time get really low, and then I just kind of panicked. So knight d2. This is like an exchange. A very quiet move. It's an exchange French, basically, now. Which is totally equal. Yeah, I wouldn't play the Petrov with black if I desperately had to win. But this is just a stream game. If I draw, I draw. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Although thematically, I have the pawns on the right color with my bishop. You know, technically he has a bad bishop here, which maybe doesn't seem like the biggest deal in the world right now, but it, you know, it could have some meaning. I don't really think castling queenside and trying to turn into Alexander Alekhine here would really be recommended with all the pieces that have been exchanged. I mean, the set of bishops that have been exchanged here. Sometimes in the exchange French, you can get queen d7, castles long. But I don't really think that's realistic in this position. I just don't think it's realistic in this position where this guy has traded a set of pieces already. So, he's sorry about my rating. Never be sorry. Move 11. I thought you were Movsesian for a second. I saw it was like move 11. It's Movsesian. Sergey. Queen d7. Queen c2. Queen d7. Knight e5. Trading more pieces. Well, it could be an argument for that. Yeah. Could be an argument for this. As long as I can trade on my terms. I mean, I'm developing pieces. But this is going to most likely pan out to be a draw. This kind of position should be a draw. What are you doing playing e5? Sicilian is the best way to unbalance. I've been reading like Bronstein's 200 Open Games and just not focusing on winning as much as just learning. Learning to play e4 e5. As a high at as high a level as I can, basically. So yeah, we're just concentrating on learning. F6. F6. Weakening my king side and my king position a little bit. But as I talked about a minute ago, a position where dynamism like castling queenside probably isn't really the right idea. I don't think that this kind of little weakness is going to be that significant here. And I want to take away the e5 square. Rook e2. Alright, so bishop f8. I don't really want to trade pieces. I mean, obviously I'm trading rooks, but I don't want to trade all the pieces with bishop d6. Maybe I'm living in a fantasy world here, but if I can push this pawn up to c6, in the ending I'll have the better bishop. So let's try to redeploy a bit. How does it feel to beat Richard Rapport? Well, it felt good because I was the only player that beat him in that tournament. Plus, he was much higher rated than me. But he wasn't a chess god. He was a newly minted grandmaster. Not that big a deal. I don't like playing knight takes e8, but there was a problem. Bishop takes, queen b3, when he's double attacking this and this. And I wasn't sure. I guess I could have found a different way to deal with it. Neverness is very fast. I think Neverness is in his comfort zone, When I played the Sicilian, or actually, when did he start playing e4 against me? Didn't Neverness play like d4 stuff before? Come to think of it. Is it just my imagination, or did you play e4 only recently? Found that move. You found that move. This is pretty boring, but pretty solid for black. Yeah, I sense a new confidence in Neverness. Notice he won this game, and now he's like... But it wasn't really, a pretty win there. He got lucky. Okay, tactics here. Look, I'm just looking for a good ending. I mean... I think black is fine here. Black is probably better. He's bringing his king to the center. It's a little early for that, but maybe f1 is far enough. Oh, maybe, yeah, f1 is okay. Would be good to beat Richard Rapport now. But you got to beat them while they're young. Neverness is my friend. We play a lot of games here. I'm just repeating what Glideson said. Yeah, he seems to be comfortable in this sort of boring type of position, which is interesting. Not really my forte. The land of boringness. I should have played knight c6 instead of knight f6. No more Petrovs against Neverness. This is the last time. If you're going to play this variation, I'm not going to play the Petrov against you. It's just not dynamic. There was a time though, years ago, when I think Rook E1 was considered to be the main line. It's only in recent years that C4, only in the last 20 years that C4 really was the resurgent move. Man, dude, this looks a little dangerous for white. I think this is a bad idea for white. Giving yourself an isolated pawn on d4. Wow, in an ending. And now, I mean, even after knight takes c4, queen takes c4, queen d5, I think white has a draw, but it's a little unpleasant. But I think I can just win with knight f5 here. Am I missing some kind of tactic? I guess it's not going to be that easy because my knight on e6 is actually pinned. Still. I really like black now. This was an unnecessary risk for white to mess up his pawn structure. And now he may end up losing a pawn eventually. The bishop is kind of curious. It's not my forte. Thank you, Zogatic. Thank you. Forte. Not my forte. Boring double king pawn positions. But I want to work on my e4 e5 game, and the only way to improve is to practice. So I feel like, you know, I spent most of my life playing the Sicilian, and we've occasionally played e4 e5. I've played the Schliemann a couple times in the Lopez, and the Petrov on occasion. So now knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4. Strange little sequence. But b6 or b5. b5 is too weakening. b6 is kind of high responsibility, threatening knight b6 there. Alright. King f7 not recommended. Not recommended. I don't know why. Knight takes d4. Knight takes d4. I could play knight takes d4. Hitting his queen. And then something like, what? Knight b6 check? Pretty weird variation. This is getting a little bit weird. Knight takes d4. Knight on f takes d4 takes. Queen takes d4 is also possible. Absolutely no threat there. So b6 is weakening. Alright, let's see what happens here. Yeah, Neverness seems to have gotten faster or something. I mean, I had the same problem yesterday that I got in very bad time pressure. Down to like 25 seconds sort of time pressure. And feeling like I'm just going to win easily as long as I have 5-second increment. But the first moment I had a confusing position, I just almost lost on time. So I don't know what you guys expected here. But I don't see a lot of options. I mean, I have choices. I would think he's taking. I thought he was taking on d4 for sure. Maybe he has an alternative. He has like queen d3 or something. I missed that, but it doesn't look that scary. I can defend d4 again, however. So, strange decision by white to isolate that pawn. Justice Bot, what's up? TT in 20 minutes. Please play e5 the next time on white. Alright. Is Sparkle Horse also a blitz bullet player or just mainly standard? Yeah, we're playing blitz and classical. You can play 5-3. The only thing I ask is that when I'm streaming, there's a small increment, like at least 3 seconds, so that I can talk about the game. In my own private time, I like to play 5-minute with no increment, and also sometimes 3-minute. But I have to be kind of pumped up to play 3. And the time, the time gears have to be warmed up. I'm a pretty strong 3-minute player, actually, but I have to be warmed up. Alright, trading pieces here looks fine for me, man. I'm happy to trade. And I think that black is in good shape. Well, just like positional suicide. Positional suicide. Oh yes, bishop takes a7, okay. That's your gimmick, is bishop takes a7. Alright. What am I doing? I mean, why not bishop c5? And that, like, the best move in chess is one that attacks and defends at the same time. Should be like a no-brainer in a blitz situation. Sometimes I get a little too, like, spoiled, guys? I think that's the problem. This looks like a lazy move, too. A lazy move. Let's not make lazy moves. Play for mate somehow. But how? I see an idea. Knight g5. Man, that looks pretty scary for white. I wasn't thinking about mating white, but after g takes f, it's starting to become an option. Now queen f4. Yeah, where does he come to these fast moves? Queen check. Bishop takes f2. h4. Been known to like whip out a tactic or two here and there. We need to show him who's boss here tactically. There goes the king side. All right. It's all good. It does seem like Neverness has renewed confidence. I agree with that. That's the way it appears. Only recently. What am I doing? We're 2 pawns up here. Let's get the king in the game. Did he just have a piece? He just could have won a piece, right? He's keeping my king out of the game. He could have just won a piece. That's extremely disturbing. How can I find a way to like lose a piece there? I think we're seeing a new side of Neverness. He's so fast. Oh well. Okay, this is not really the right idea now. I'm more than happy to play with 3 against 1 on the king side with no complications. He does have 2 pieces though. 2 pieces to sacrifice for pawns. The wrong color rook pawn would be the only way he could draw this. Bishop and wrong color rook pawn. The only conceivable draw. If he's able to sack both pieces for the right pawns here, I might have to do bishop and knight checkmate. I mean, that's obviously very possible. But things could get a little scary now, though. I like my chances in a pure knight ending. I think this is gonna be unpleasant. That is game over. Man, you're getting tougher and tougher, Neverness. Lost the last one. This one was like pulling teeth. Oh, man. That game took forever, too. Justice Pod is just spamming the channel. What's up, man? You like that sword? Waving the sword around. He's waving his sword around like a maniac. Why don't I just take the free knight? It would be a good move. Anyway, it's more fun this way. 3 connected pass pawns. I'd rather not win a piece, honestly. Yeah, it's much more fun this way. Probably another chance to win a piece there. Yeah, let's get them all down there. F3. Oh, yeah. Can we trap his knight somehow? I don't really like White's chances here. The denouement is on the way. This dude does not give up either. It feels like there's some kind of study-like finish here. I guess I just win a piece. Well, why resign now, man? Move 11, Edis Perpetuo, Chuinaka, Keister, Asi passes, Evo Chess. Evo Chess. I don't know if I'm going to get all these games in. I mean, I'm definitely going to be able to play like 6 of them. I'd say like 6 games for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Through Evo Chess for sure, guys. All right. Move 11, E4. Should we go back to our Sicilian? It was a little too much Petrov there for me. I'm just not loving the Petrov right now. We need a more dynamic option against E4, E5, Knight F3. I should play some form of the Lopez as black. Actually, I have some ideas I've been looking at recently. I should try it out. Okay, so this is a variation I've discussed quite a bit, man. I mean, I actually did some YouTube videos on this Queen takes D4 line. If you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, you can find some information. I've been looking at some interesting, or a while ago, a couple months ago, I looked at some interesting lines here. Mongolian WGM played Queen A4, Queen B3 against me, which is a variation I studied with Roman Gingiashvili a very long time ago. So here, guys, you're going to see a position that I had. My only game I ever played with Levant Aronian was like in this position. And it was a live blitz game. I played knight b4 and lost. This is the old main line, knight b4. The only game I've actually played with Levant. But here, knight c7 and knight b6 are both interesting. And it's really hard to say, and knight b4 as well. It's really hard to say which is best, though. All these lines are interesting. Very hard to like pick one out and say this one's better than the other one. Knight b4 may have been a little overrated. It's always just assumed to be the best move for black. But, so, queen on e4. b5, b6, knight e6. Kind of like knight e6. I can't remember my own analysis half the time, which tends to happen when you play a lot of different stuff. But this pawn looks to me a bit odd. Like, what's going on with that pawn? Can I just snack on that pawn? I mean, what's up with that pawn? So, not sure. Octopus Rampage. I kind of like that name, though. Right now my Twitch is frozen. Are you guys serious? What are you talking about? Alright, I'm not going to pay too much attention. Anyway, so I think that bishop f4 is a bad move, it looks like, if I recall correctly. Or at least there, after knight e6, maybe he can play knight c3. Instead of wasting a tempo on bishop g3. But again, I forget my own analysis a lot. You need to review your own analysis. It's not like it's glued there once you look at something forever. But I just, yeah, this looks real sketchy for white. I mean, this long diagonal now. Bad bishop on g3. I made a point of that in one of my videos. If you get a setup like this, now my queen is not great on b6, but it sort of served its purpose. So, I mean, first of all, I'm going to play bishop g7. And then we're going to try to open it up for the bishop. I mean, he may get some time back on my queen on b6. But I really still like black here. The queen a4, queen b3 variation looked very problematic, although I found solutions there where black is fairly active. Just as you know about knight b4. Knight b4 is overrated. So it probably allows white a small advantage. I didn't know that until I played Aronian many years ago. All the books say knight b4 is just good for black, but it's not so clear at all. So now, I guess I'm going to castle, or maybe d5. d5 sacking a pawn here. It's too early. d6. d6 is possible. Where does my queen go? Yeah, d6 is possible. He has knight c4 later on. I guess I should just castle first. What's he going to do, castle queenside? I don't think so. I don't think that's a really safe option. Another thing I could have done here was f5. And It looks pretty scary for white, actually. Because I'm threatening to trap a piece. Well, that's the maybe it's not trapped. He can go like f4, bishop h4, h6, and try to save his bishop somehow. So I don't know. Tricky stuff. But it still feels like white's a little overextended, has a lot of weaknesses. He needs to move a little faster here. What about knight d2? He didn't want to play knight c3 because of things like queen a5, I guess. Knight d2 is a little safer. White's position looks dubious, though. Bishop on g3, not really good. Vulnerable on the long diagonal. The rook needs to move, but castling queenside is kind of dangerous for white, so he could try to get away with it, though. Just with the half open c file for black, and I can launch the a pawn. I don't know, man. Castling queenside looks sort of suicidal. Chess beast. You mean one knight b4? The Isle of Man is no joke. I've been to the Isle of Man, and it's truly not a joke. So, d5, queen takes d5, knight b4. I mean, I'm sacrificing a whole pawn there. I mean, that looks a little bit over the top. Just f5, or just d6, undermining the center. I mean, maybe I'm expecting too much here, though. You know, I mean, knight c5 is another simple move that's probably good. Let's break the center. He could go for his white squared bishop. Also frees my guy, ultimately. So knight c5. Going for the white squared bishop. Also mobilizing my c8b. And white is just trying to salvage his position without doing anything terrible. It looks like salvageable for white. He's not necessarily lost. Just looks a little scattered. I thought queen e3 was the move there. Queen e3, maybe you can trade queens on b6? I don't know. I don't know for sure. Still, black is better. Bishop g4, thematic. What do you guys think? Does it do anything? Yeah, it does. It does stuff. Maybe he sacks in exchange or something. Looks a little over the top to sack the exchange, but I think he can try. d5 looks good to me. What position? Like sacking a pawn early on? I'm just trying to like get all my pieces in the game. There's a lot of options. White could sack the exchange here. I don't think he has quite enough, but I would seriously consider it. I would seriously consider not even taking it, actually. Maybe I don't even take. If he takes this pawn, I might just take back and just screw winning the exchange. I have other moves, too. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Looks really interesting for black, although he has knight c4 there. And knight c4 right away is also interesting. I have knight d4. Knight d4 is interesting. Knight d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4. Slightly better for black. Queen a6. Queen feels like it's getting out of play, but it's not that out of play. It has some potential here. Has some potential here. And we have threats. But I know that move 11 likes to use his time, and he has a tendency to kind of panic in time pressure. So here, I don't think that winning the exchange was really ever what I really wanted to do with this position. I'm happy to just take back and play some chess. This bishop is really super powerful. I'm on that pawn sometimes, so white is an awkward position. There's a threat of knight d4. I'm not saying I won't take it if it sits there, but looks like black has a pretty huge initiative here. Rook e8. And it's probably he should have taken on d6, not allowed rook e8. But now that his queen is driven away, this is probably lost for white. This is lost for white. I think this doubling of pawns here is really fatal. Positional weakness. So still don't think he can live there. Bishop takes, queen takes a2. Keep the powerful knight. Snatch a pawn. Feels a little greedy. But what other options do I have? Bishop h6. Bishop h6 is interesting. Alright. We do have a threat. A couple threats. This pawn. This fork. So this exchange is a different story. Now we take that one. Alright, man. I don't know. Tough to play that line. You've really got to know what you're doing for both sides. Edis Perpetuo. Calmly devastating. I just hate taking exchanges on a1. You know, I like my dark squared bishop, you know. Taking the rook on a1 is like the opposite of sacrificing the exchange. I mean, I prefer to sacrifice the exchange than take exchanges. I'm just not a greedy kind of player. But I prefer to like take the initiative rather than, you know, give the initiative. If I take his bishop or rook on a1, he gets some pretty serious kind of counterplay. So this guy likes the Kali system. Against the King's Indian, it's a pretty rare visitor. You really should play c4, I think, if you're going to face the King's Indian. But not to say this isn't technically playable for white. He's playing a little bit too mechanically, but it's viable. He's going to have to play like e4 in 2 moves, and probably not that big a like loss of time. Given the closed nature of the position, it's just not that big a deal. So he's ready to play e4. Maybe I better be prepared to meet it with e5. And we end up in some kind of... I played this intentionally a little passively because I'll end up in a very complicated position with all the pieces on the board. And c3, it's not really like... I play the modern defense for black too. c3, this is what it's become basically. A modern defense where white played c3. It's also has similarities to, as you can imagine, like the Roy Lopez. c6 or d5 here. Tempting to play c6, but it's going against kind of classical principles to play that move. So I don't know, you know, if that's what I want to do or not. It's kind of tempting to play on the king's side, but we'll do it. Wow, he just traded. I thought c4 is more stubborn, but white just traded, wants to keep it simple. But generally speaking, attacking the head of the pawn chain not theoretically the best approach, according to Aaron Nimzovich. A5, 98, knight h5, yeah, all these are normal moves. My default plan would be something like knight h5 and play for f5. But it's not a typical King's Indian in that his bishop's on d3. But I think those plans, a5 is... Do we need to play a5 though always? I don't know. It depends. And now we've got a game we're playing centrally. It's not a typical King's Indian anymore. This is more like a Lopez where we played like, broke his center. We should have equalized here basically. But, I kind of want more than equality, so maybe knight c5, d5. Let's be careful. I'm a little bit worried about this. Now this is a bad move. I mean, this is like the first move we can concretely say this is a bad move. White just radically weakened his king side for with no real justification. And now my e5 is solid, and I mean, for one thing I can play this. Maybe I should play knight c5 and then d5 as well. Knight c5, bishop c2, d5 looks pretty good. And that's one of the reasons why I played rook e8, actually, was to support e5 and make this push possible, making sure I had enough protection on e5. Eidos Perpetuo is not using his time here. This looks really strong. Just central, overwhelming e4. Plus, well, let's think about this for a minute here. A routine move is to take on d5 with the queen. Not sure. It's the only move. e4 is possible, but I don't see anything clear there. Do I? Pawn takes c6, pawn takes... Maybe it's good. e4. Wow. What if he takes on e4? What if he takes on e4 with a knight, for example? What do I do there? What if he takes on e4 and then I take on e4 and he takes on c6? What if I take e4, knight takes e4, queen takes d5? Now maybe we're getting somewhere. e4, knight takes d4. e4, knight takes e4, queen takes d5. Knight takes f6, check, wins for black. e4, knight takes e4. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty interesting. I'm taking here now. The dude just moves too fast. I mean, this was a scary move, bishop c4. But I think the problem with it is that, like, after bishop c4, queen takes e4, I'm just up a piece. Bishop takes f7, check. Actually, not that clear. Bishop c4, queen takes e4, bishop takes f7, check. King h8. Queen takes f3, bishop takes e8, rook takes e8. Queen takes f3, rook takes e1, check. What the heck is going on there? Am I winning that? It's very complicated stuff, Eidos Perpetuo. You need to take more time, man. I mean, this is an extremely complicated position where you're just, like, moving instantly. I'm taking my time. There are a lot of tactics in this position. Bishop c4 was very complicated. And you just, like, insta-moved. Why not with just knight takes d5? I mean, I'm down to 2 minutes, and I only analyzed, like, half the possible variations. Knight takes d5. You know, the problem with knight takes d5, I just didn't feel like I really had any immediate threat. Maybe I do. The problem with knight takes d5, it's fine, but I'm not sure I'm actually threatening an immediate win with it, you know? There's like queen takes d5, I'm threatening to win a piece right away. I think this just wins immediately. I mean, there's a mate, there's this piece, there's this piece. The bishop c4 was the only move that was an issue, you know. Computer analysis might find something in that line too. But, you know, white played crazy. I mean, g4 is not a position, you know, not a move you can make in an open position for sure. And I think he kind of forgot that my bishop was protecting e8 or something. Or just didn't realize, I mean. So, that's probably white's hallucination in this game. Forgetting about the protection of e8, I don't know. But, no matter how badly white lost this game, I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, how does black deal with it? You know, was c6 the right idea? Or, like, would it have been better to do what Zugatic said and, like, just attack on the king side? I teach that to my students a lot. Don't play on the queen side. Play on the side of the board where your pawn structure says you're stronger. But his setup was so weird with the bishop on d3 and, you know, not a pawn on c4. So it looked like the central plan was pretty viable. Why not just knight takes d5? But it was an issue. So why knight takes d5? Rechess says my volume's low again. You guys, I don't know. It sounds like some people say the volume is low. Alright, let's play another game. Got the volume up pretty high. So, Chewy Naka, you know, I'll try to talk closer to the microphone, but many of the viewers said that the volume is fine, so I'm not really sure. I think we've got time for 5 more games, tops. I was pretty sure we'd get to Evo Chess. We're going to get through Evo Chess. After that, we're just relying on hope, guys. Volume seems fine for most people. A few people have had problems. Guys, through most of August, I'm going to be streaming like this Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We are at 6:30 Eastern Time, USA. Also, Sundays, I'm doing a stream in the morning, 10 a.m., basically for the European players. Those of you that don't know, I usually stream from Hungary. So I have a following of players who are used to me streaming like morning, daytime, European time. Guys, this Friday or Sunday we're going to do a simul. We don't have to decide now, but I think Thursday we'll take a vote and see if you guys would prefer to do the simul Friday or Sunday. Chewy Naka playing the Petrov against me. Guys, if anybody's interested in lessons, send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. It also applies if you have any kind of questions. Ask me a chess question that you know, you need like advice about, like what book to buy or something. Feel free to send me an email. D4, and we're going to the main line, Petrov. I don't know what Chewy Naka knows, but what's the deal with his rating provisional? So he's Francais and he's rated around mid 1600s. Okay. This is not a standard move. You know, our first reaction is check the e-file. Nothing there. Alright, I don't think that queen e2 is dangerous. He's not playing d5. And his knight is vulnerable to being hit with d5. So that's a strong possibility for white. And it's kind of hard to argue against that move. I don't think it's a no-brainer. It kind of extends white's pawn structure a little bit, so you got to be comfortable playing with and maintaining a spatial advantage. Now knight e5. I think that's probably the most logical move. Reminds me of another game I had recently, actually. So, bishop b5 check, c6, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn would leave me with a good structure. Could do that. Knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, bishop b5 check. The problem there is like c6, pawn takes pawn. He's got nasty tricks. There's a lot of possibilities here. I mean, I could even play like knight d4, but I have to be careful. Black could have some Scotch-like stuff with queen d4, so looks a little weird. Knight takes e5, sensible development. Just that I don't really like trading pieces too much so early in the game. Actually, I kind of expected him to play knight e7 for some reason. Knight takes e5 also opens up his bishop from f8. You know, I think that's not really beneficial. What's the deal with this knight on d3? Now it has the c5 or e4. It has c5 square. Bishop b5 check. Just developing quickly, trying to induce pawn weaknesses. Okay. But actually has a trick. Bishop b5 check c6. Pawn takes pawn, queen a5 check. Uh-oh. And then knight c3, knight takes c3. What's the deal with this? Bishop b5 check, c6, pawn takes pawn, queen a5 check, knight c3. Knight takes knight. C takes b, discovered check. Is that some kind of like standard Nimzovich defense kind of trap? We could play knight takes knight, bishop b5 check. Another interesting move here is queen e2. It just occurred to me. Could be a very strong move. Kind of outside the box type of move. There's bishop g4 in that case. And then queen b5 checks. That looks pretty weird. I feel like we're in some kind of semi-trap. Knight d4. Queen h4. Is a tad dangerous. Knight d4, queen h4, bishop e3, knight g4. It's like black has some kind of trappy counterplay. I could just play g3, but it weakens my king side. We could also just make a developing move. It's kind of weak, but bishop e2, bishop e3. Not very inspirational. So queen e2 does work. This isn't a move. This is hanging. I just realized that. We also have queen b5 check, but that allows c6. Queen e2 is very interesting. Maybe a little on the greedy side, though. He could sack a pawn. For example, like knight f6, knight takes pawn, pawn takes, queen takes check, bishop e7. And when he castles, my queen is very exposed. I'm not that sure about this, you know, but he doesn't have a little bit of compensation. Probably not much. I have bishop e5 check, and that's going to trade some pieces. That's going to kill his counterplay. I think. Bishop e5 check, c6, pawn takes pawn, and queen a5 check there doesn't do anything. So trading pieces should benefit me. Chuinaka 1300. Well, this is provisional. This is a tricky opening. I mean, whatever happens, he's still going to have a little bit of compensation no matter what I do here. c4 looks more or less forced. Because knight c3, rook d8, he could just keep building up indefinitely more pressure on the center. So, well, it's probably like just a gambit type position where he has half a pawn compensation here. I don't really think this is unplayable for black. You know, he has some compensation, probably 2 tempi. They say a pawn is worth about 3 tempi. This is probably about 2 tempi worth of compensation. This is rated game, which is very interesting. Normally I lose when it's a rated game. Let's see if that holds true here today. It doesn't generally matter what my opponent's rating is. The rated games, usually I lose. So he's 1600, established rating, bullet, and blitz. Here he is half a pawn comp. Queen d4 is centralized. It's got knight c3 coming, rook d1. He does have potential back rank threats. I don't see any immediate shots for black here. I used a lot of time analyzing this position. This is an excellent move. Just an excellent move. Stopping bishop f4, stopping bishop g5, taking away d3 from my queen. Maybe c5 here. Drops a pawn. So we're definitely under a lot of pressure in this position now. h3, probably a sensible move. Stopping knight g4. Obviously also taking away like direct threats against h2. Have played this guy once before. Don't recall, although it looks like he played pretty tough. Queen h4 here, queen d1. I think I like d1. It blocks my rooks though. Yeah, I guess queen h4 is more active, but I'm not sure, guys, which is better. Queen d1 or queen h4? Black playing here like a master, at least, so far. Very precise, good compensation for the pawn. Tricky variation, by the way, knight c6. Not familiar with that. Now a6 looks a little slow to me. Still not a bad move, though. That's still not a bad move. Alright, bishop e3. At least I get to develop a piece here. Gotta watch out for exchange sacrifices and whatnot. He's also extremely fast, using just 2 minutes. 4 minutes. It's 8-3. Normally I shouldn't lose someone around 1600, but this is not an easy game. b5. You know, I don't mind sacrificing a pawn back here. Kind of try to neutralize his threats. So I'm going to do that. Rather than the routine take on b5, I'm going to try to trade some pieces. His pawns will be weak. Material is equal, but I have a better pawn structure. Slightly better. I mean, my pawns are not exactly immune from attack either. But I think we are slightly favored here. Queen f3. If queen f3, rook d8, maybe I'm better off going with this move. It looks like equal. So it's just going to be down to endgame technique. Chui Naka. He was the guy who was complaining. I think he had lost his challenge early on. So this ending is interesting. Approximately equal. Theoretically, I have the better pawn structure. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm gonna have to watch my pawns. This guy has played like way too good for his rating. Alright. Hopefully we can hang on. Alright. Perfect technique by black. Still, we're probably still hanging on. Now black has a good king. Cuts off my king. But I have this move. Very, very good technique, man. I don't think you're a 1600, dude. This game's too strong for a 1600. The other day a guy said, yeah, I had like 3 of my friends playing you at the same time, you know, which is, it's not the same as like using a computer or something, but I don't really appreciate like teaming up with like 4 people playing against me. If it's a rated game, at least. I mean, all right, see if we can hang on here. Supposed 1600 is playing pretty well, man. Yeah, that looks like computer. Okay. Good game, man. I can't be sure, but the end game technique was like perfect. E4 and... I don't know, dude. You definitely played suspicious. Good game, though, if not. Good game, if not. Keister? Yeah. I think I could have played Rook A5 the move before. Immediately, the rated 1600 beats me. Sure, dude. Yeah, of course it's a rated game, dude. That's why. That's why he won, dude. That's the point, to get my rating points. I shouldn't have accepted. Actually, I shouldn't accept any rated challenges of people like more than like 400 rating points below me. Whatever. Not just this, I mean, it was not a computer. It was probably a master strength player. I mean, I don't know. It played like a human to me, like a strong human. It didn't play like a computer. It played like a strong human. I mean, whatever. So, have your master friend play, and you know, it's cool. Whatever. Yeah, we're definitely putting in the suspicious category. Keister, good luck. We have time for probably like 2 more games after this through Evo Chess. I should have probably held the rook ending if I had played Rook A5 instead of... Maybe I could have held the rook ending with perfect play. It was very, very tough. It wasn't a provisional account, though. Okay, he had 2 established ratings, Python. What can I do? He had established ratings in Blitz and Bullet. So, you assume that if somebody has 2 established ratings, then they would be honest, you know? It wasn't like he was 95 sacked the pawn, Zug Addict. I mean, that was a sound pawn sack, dude. Maybe a little bit marginal, but I think that black has at least half a pawn, you know, compensation. And it's not that ridiculous. Only my queen is developed. He's just a little shy of full compensation there. I think that it was a perfectly played game by black. But, you know, maybe Python's right. Like, we have to just not play people if they don't have a classical rating. I give him credit for having 2 established ratings, but I don't know. Whatever it was, it didn't feel like a computer. It felt kind of like a really strong human. The endgame technique, like instantaneously, almost perfect, is not a 1600. Whatever. So I'm not going to cry about it anymore. That's water under the bridge. E3. Where are you, Keister? What happened, man? A6 is a little bit unusual, but not bad. Kind of interesting move. Don't recall facing A6. But I don't see anything wrong with it, actually. I have 2 challenges left. What are my thoughts on the Daring Damiano? Yeah, it's... Um, playable in fast chess, probably. I wouldn't do it in a long game. So Keister, I don't see the point really in a6, bishop f5. If you want to do this plan with bishop f5, maybe just do it straight up. I don't see any benefit really in a6. Mostly a6, c6 would be kind of normal plan. So I don't know if that guy was using a computer, but he was definitely not a 1600. Endgame technique just perfect. I think I could have held though. Maybe not. Maybe not though. I'm thinking I could have reached like a rook ending where I would have had rook against two rook pawns. Rook and king against rook and two rook pawns. Maybe there's a draw there. I wouldn't be surprised. I was really under pressure though. That's the thing. I mean, he had me under time pressure constantly the whole game. He never used much time and played basically flawlessly the whole game. So it was GM Nike. He usually plays Smurf accounts and challenge high-rated people. Who's GM Nike? We have a double attack here. Not really going to cut it. Well, that's the guy I want to know. That's the kind of person I respect. The Centipon loss. Yeah, I'm not going to accuse the guy. I'm not going to report him based on one game, but he goes into the group of suspicious characters that I'll be reluctant to play again. And the ending was the really suspicious thing. I mean, he played the ending like a strong master would. Confidently, quickly, knowing exactly what to do. Yeah, I mean, he could get through the opening and the middle game fine. But if you're 1600, you make some little mistake in the ending and it's a draw. And he was just playing accurate move after accurate move. So you're either a master or a computer. I mean, a strong 2100 could have a good game, and that's fine. But you're not a 1600. You know, there's no way. So it's whatever. It is what it is. GM Naki is some jackass GM who challenges people 24/7 with low account. But does he have an ID? I mean, he's like GM Naki. Does he have an identity? Like a real live identity? Or he's just an anonymous GM? He mostly resides on the ICC. Ah. Well, hopefully he continues to reside there. Interesting game nonetheless. I shouldn't have lost. But the time was getting low when I sacked the pawn back. And it was more about time than position what caused me to lose that game, actually. It wasn't really the position that was the problem. It was that I had to make moves accurately and quickly, and he had more time than me. Alright, we're going to go for space here. We have Tony Miles style game. Miles loved to like allow knight e4 and then trade all the pieces and just outplay people in the ending. That's what he would do routinely. Also Queen's Indian type positions, play bishop f4, allow black to play like knight e4, trade, bishop d3, trade. But Grandmaster Miles was so strong in the ending that it was just like hopeless. If you had like any kind of technical ending against him, it was over. It's an internet persona. I wonder why he wouldn't want his personal life to be interfered by chess. We have no idea. It's just... could be a computer. It felt like 75% strong player, 15% computer, 10% guy who just played like a genius one game. That would be my breakdown. But I didn't play perfectly. Just the speed at which he played accurately was kind of disturbing. We have a nice space edge here. All the pawns on white squares, mostly. But Keister with just no time. Though black should be able to hold this position, I think. Objectively. With all the exchanges black has made here, it should be manageable. Really should. Guys, we're just going to play maximum 2 more games. I promised Evo Chess we definitely wouldn't stop before him. The weird thing was, I think the guy, like, I think he actually chatted in the stream at some point. I could be wrong. But he was complaining about something, like his challenge dropping, I think. I think he was complaining about the challenge dropping. Pretty early on in my stream today. Interesting. I wouldn't mind playing like knight versus bad bishop here. Interesting concept. This is a lot of space for white. Thing is, black's gonna play for b5 here. What am I gonna do? All right. Can I do it? Yeah, I have no advantage here. Keister with the increment. Now he just needs to be... yeah, there it is. Now I have to go back. Bad plan by me. He's trying to play bishop g5. Alright, I guess rook b1. Now b4. Bad bishop. Uh-oh. Now that could be trouble. Finally, Keister's giving us something really, really juicy. I don't think he needed to give us the file that way. He should have exchanged on b4. He closed down his account. Huh. I don't know. I'm gonna have to decide for myself, but weird. I mean, I don't want to accuse everybody of being a computer every time I lose. But that game was pretty sick, man. I mean, I know when I'm playing a really strong player, you know. The opening was kind of dubious, but sound dubious. Like, he could be playing that pawn sack. You know, I play a lot of stuff just as unsound as that. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a strong player. Just to play something a little bit weird. We've got a huge advantage here. Guys, 2 more games. We're just going to keep the pieces on the board. Wait a minute. Yeah, nice defense. Rook c8. Wow. Rook takes c5. Queen takes b5. You win the c-pawn back, so I can't afford to do that. Keister does not exchange queens either. Nice, man. G4 looks a little bit over the top. I guess we just win the A pawn. or not. Why did you resign, dude? Now you resigned? Why would you resign now? We can't even win the A-pawn. On characters, Keister just got tired of defending. Okay, so every time I do a stream, it seems like I lose every rated game. Last time at Neverness wasn't his fault, though. I lost a legit game to Neverness, and somebody else was suspicious last time. But I don't mind if I blunder or something, but the other guy playing a perfect game is kind of hard. You think it's resignable, but he was hanging on forever in that position. I didn't have a way to win the A-pawn either because he has bishop d8. Sorry, last two games, guys. I'm going to play this game in Evo Chess, unless one of them is super fast. It's going to be over the stream time. We've never played before, Asi Pasis. So, just, you know, play like within 400 rating points of your rating, and I'm cool with it. If I lose to a 2100, I mean, I don't care, you know? But if I get, like, outplayed by a 1600, I'm a little bit upset about it. So, that's life. Queen c7, old Indian. Nayan Rasaki says, go watch any GM play a game. They frequently zero mistakes in their games. Well, frequently they have a lot of mistakes too. And it depends. I don't think I've ever played a zero sent upon loss game. I don't think that too many GMs have either. Bishop f1. Well, the guy wanted to play really bad, but there was something else about it that was weird. Somebody that wanted to play me the other day was very, very similar. Reminded me very, very similarly. Here, g5. Maybe I should play c5 there. Play g3, like preempting knight g6 and knight f4. But honestly, there was a strong chance I should have played g5. Now he has knight g6 protecting e5. I feel like I missed my window of opportunity to play c5 in that position as a kind of tactical trick. Sent upon loss was 5. Yeah, as I said, I'm not gonna report anybody personally to Lichess based on one game. But if I had somebody do that like 2 or 3 games or 4 games, I'm definitely gonna report them. If they made certain moves that, you know, that were really out of control, I would be suspicious. The other day I did report someone. I don't usually often do that. Alright, now I have to be careful here. Okay, getting a little distracted. I have to exchange on e5. I didn't really want to do this, honestly, but I have to exchange on d5, play knight d2. It may actually work out because the plan would be to play like c5 and knight c4, which is pretty typical for this kind of structure. So there's really no other option. We have a fair amount of space. Kingside, we play for c5, knight c4. His kingside attack looks a little artificial. I mean, I don't think he's gonna like checkmate me with just a rook here, so it's fine by me. He can do what he wants on the kingside for now, but we have space in the center. So knight c4. Yeah, I don't think anybody should get banned based on one game. They should be kept, like the FBI should keep a file on them, and like once they get enough like suspicious games, then they should be hammered. But I certainly had cases where I let it go on too long with suspicious players. When I first started streaming, but I don't want to be the guy who's like crying every time I lose that it's a computer every single time. You know, it's not necessary to be like paranoid. Maybe I rushed it a little bit with that exchange. King f8, I think. King f8 might be a better option for black. And then you can try to pin me with like rook d8. I was a little bit worried in that position. I might have gone a little too early with knight d6 check. He could easily have been a 2000 or 1900 playing a good game. Yeah, but he's not 1900 or 2000, dude. Why was he 1600? I mean, that's the problem, dude. I wouldn't be angry if he was 1900 or 2000. He's not, you know. He has a 1600 Lichess rating, which makes him. It should be in reality around 1400. I mean, whatever it was something was deceptive. So, I didn't have an overwhelming computer feeling by that player, as I said. But strong, you know. Alright, queen e2 here. This should be a huge advantage to white. Very strong threat of bishop g5. We can play rook d1 to support the pawn on d6. As I said, I don't think Asi passes should necessarily have exchanged. If we go back to knight d6 check, king f8, I think black can hang out here and threaten to play rook d8. And it may turn out that knight d6 was actually premature. I'm sure I could have come up with some kind of answer, like sacking a pawn with bishop e3, and black's king is a little unstable, but it's a risky plan. I mean, black's whole setup is a kind of risky plan. Playing this kingside advance, now there's knight b6. So rook bd1. Yeah, but even if you're accused of being a computer, they don't close your account. That's a nice try, Asi passes. Very nasty move. Threatening knight h4, and if I take it, I'm almost getting mated. What's the truth here, though? I mean, if I take queen takes h4, bishop g2, I have a dragon bishop, and I can't get mated. I'm going to lose. he has bishop c4 check, but we've got inner positions here. I could even afford to give up an exchange with rook e2. So I don't think this is quite enough for black. A spirited try. Guys, last game against Evo coming up. Blitz and rapid time controls don't correlate. I think they correlate very much, sir. My blitz and rapid are like 50 points different or something. It's totally correlating. And there shouldn't be more than 100 rating points different between your blitz and your rapid. Unless you have like less than 20 games or something. I mean, in fact, I would argue that the FIDE rules should be that nobody should ever be allowed to have a rapid rating more than a certain amount of points different than their normal rating. I don't think that it should be allowed for anybody to have a rapid rating in FIDE rules that's more than 400 points different from their FIDE like normal rating, for example. I mean, I think that all chess federations should adopt that policy. I mean, there's no way, that anybody should be like 2100 in rapid chess and 2500 in normal chess, or 2500 in normal chess and 2100 in rapid chess. There has to be like a kind of, relatively close correlation. Not like within 100 points, but I mean. So here, this guy is making life a little bit tough. How do I get rid of you, sir? I didn't know that Carlsen played 10 games on chess.com and lost to one some random 1600. But who do you think the random 1600 was? Probably a computer, right? I mean, I've played on chess.com. I felt like there's a lot of engines on there. I feel like Lichess does a much better job of weeding out players who are using assistants. It's one of the reasons I prefer playing on Lichess. It was Vichy. It didn't have to be anybody special, like a 2300 player is all it had to be. Playing a decent game, But anyway, it's dishonest. I mean, even a 2100 having a really good game. But if people are going to be dishonest and their ratings aren't accurate, then that's cheating, Whether it's a computer. Am I going to get mated here? I don't think so. Close. I've got this pawn. I've got this rook, actually. So he lost his rook. Alright, man. Nice try, though. Spirited try, but I don't know. The old Indian with the G5 early, that's pretty extreme. I think it's very risky opening for black. Last game, Evo chess today. 8-4. Nice job of modding there. Who is that? I'm a 2300 player and I'm up after Eva. I'm a pawn down? Yeah, dude, you're like challenging me to the wrong time control. And my stream ended now. But I appreciate it. I'm finished for today. We're gonna come back Thursday, play again 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, I just what? I'll tell you guys a story about how like something that happened to me in a rapid tournament. I played a player who had a rapid rating of 2000 and a FIDE rating of 2470. A 470 point difference. And we were playing in a rapid tournament. This player was paired up against me in the first round. When, like, if the rating had been accurate, they would have been, like, paired down on a higher board. So while the other players who were, like, you know, the same rating as me were playing, like, easy opponents, I was getting hammered by a player who was stronger than me. And that shouldn't happen. I mean, under no circumstances and this wasn't provisional rating. This was a player who played a whole bunch of rapid games when they were weaker, got a rating of like 2000, then didn't play any rapid tournaments for a long time, became like almost GM strength, and had this rapid rating remaining. And so their difference between their FIDE rapid and normal rating was over 400 points. I have a problem with that. You know, there's no way that I should lose rating points to someone, you know, who's like almost GM strength, as if they were 2000. So that's what I'm saying. Under no circumstances should there be anybody who has a difference between their rapid rating and like their blitz rating, or their rapid rating and their normal rating of more than 400 points. Under no circumstances. I mean, that just shouldn't happen. Zug Addict says, I might try a dual commentary thing Thursday if I get a game versus me. Okay. Dude, try to come like 6:30 or 7. Maybe around 7. Like. But, Zug Addict, I mean, I can reserve a place for you, you know, in the line. If you want to do a dual commentary, you know, I'll hold the game for you. No problem, man. I mean, it would be fun. I never actually did a dual commentary. I don't know. Once I was playing with what's his name? Andrash. What's his name, man? Tot Andrash. Yeah. So, I'm not sure if he was streaming or not, though, when we played. Would you suggest a FIDE bump up the rapid? I think that, I don't know, man. I mean, there just aren't enough of these rapid tournaments. That's what I'm just saying. I don't think the rating should ever be allowed to, you know, I think that's, the main rating should be the base rating, like the standard rating, and then nobody should be allowed to, like, stray without, you know, none of their ratings should be allowed to stray by more than 400 points from their base rating, which I guess is the classical rating. Gotta fly here. You guys are wondering what I'm doing. Guys, check out my YouTube videos. Video chess training on YouTube. We could try taking on F6 Evo chess. I have played like this before. It's a little early to play bishop takes F, I think. Let's develop a piece. So, a lot of Smyslov today. Smyslov systems. So bishop takes F6, bishop takes F6, 94, knight D6. Small advantage for white. We can also play knight E4. That looks pretty strong. This queen on E8 is particularly poorly placed anytime you have a weakness on D6 in the King's Indian. Tory attack against the King's Indian is another opening where you got to be careful about weakening like the D6 square. I play variations with Queen E8. Anytime you play Queen E8, this is a big, big issue. Now let's see if he finds some kind of resource here. I think he has some options. Black can probably manage to hold this together. There's bishop f5, so if we play bishop d3, bishop takes f5. If you just play f3, it looks kind of passive. Bishop f3, g4, bishop takes e4, queen takes e4. I kind of like g4 because that's going to give me, you know, some play against f5, some counterplay against f5. Opening up the g file might favor white. I'm going to play king h1. I had a game against a strong player, Topt Irvin, where I did like king h1 and I had him annihilated and somehow I lost. But yeah, I mean g4, no, it's totally, it's kind of like a Petrosian system. My white square bishop's on oppose. He controls h5. The g file falls in my hands if you play f5. And meanwhile, I've got control of the d file. I think white's better. White's probably better. You like the chess portion of the stream. The annoying thing about people with suspicious accounts, well, Zogatic, that doesn't happen every day, but you know, occasionally it does happen. Some people are very bothered by it. Other people don't care. We're all kind of divided. My opinion is just that, you know, I'll try to be flexible about it, but, you know, I don't want to ignore it altogether because, you know, it's not good for anybody. All right, king h1. Prophylactic move. And actually, yeah, I mean, you could play bishop f6 here. Then I play bishop g3, and I'm not sure who that really favors. He's tied down to e5. Notice that black can't play, he can't contest the file in this position. So this is a position where I think that black could be okay, but he has to be very accurate. I think that f5 is probably just a really bad idea here. I mean, he did it because it was forcing, but it just looks like opening the lines for white. We have lots of good moves. Queen g2, queen f3, maybe even queen c2. I'm thinking I don't want to block the rook. I really don't care about my pawn on b2, guys. Don't worry about that. This looks like a good square for the queen. And the g file and the d file, maybe black has a way to defend this somehow, but it looks kind of difficult to kind of string it all together. Queen c2. Rook g1. Knight takes e4, rook g1. e4. e4 looks kind of dangerous. Could more like a Sveshnikov Sicilian than a King's Indian now. So they haven't played e4, obviously. In general, yeah. I mean, this has been an ongoing issue. You know, a lot of people want to never talk about it. Others, it's all they want to talk about. It's like politics. So here we go now. This looks really powerful. Really powerful. It's almost like a zugzwang position. Rook g1. We got the two bishops slicing. Threat of rook g6. And some lines, Well, everything's protected. He doesn't have rook d8 as well. And if his knight takes on c4, I'm down on the 7th rank. So it's very, very close to Zugzwang. He doesn't have any square to move his pieces to. Rook d6. Rook d6 or just b3. I mean, I guess black has... I guess rook d6. Knight takes c4. Rook g6. Or knight takes c4, rook d7 actually. I just want to thank everybody for joining me. I've got to finish the stream up after this game. International Master William Paschall streaming from the USA. We're going to be back to Hungary beginning of September. Stream time will change back to European time. We'd like to thank you. Also, check out my YouTube videos on video chess training. You can support the stream and my videos by also going to GoFundMe. I've got a link on the page. You can donate $5, and it really helps a lot. So if you have any questions or you're interested in taking lessons, send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Where's the knockout blow here, guys? I think it's rook d7. We're slicing and dicing. I mean, this looks really strong. There is some defense, though, I'm afraid. Man. Well, we're going to get two rooks on the 7th. Minimum. You think you just blundered. I think I just blundered. I don't see a mate there. Rook takes g7. Rook d7 check, king h8. And then what's my next move? There could be some study like mate. You know? There could be some study like mate. But I see ideas, but I don't see anything concrete. Black's hanging in there. No spoilers. I have an idea, guys. I don't know if it's good enough. Probably not. Darn it. Thought I saw something here. We go rook on the 7th. Rook's on the 7th. Do you think? Rook's on the 7th. Looks pretty powerful. It can't be worse. Our king is safe. Unfortunately, we did have to part with one of our bishop pair, which really... that kind of sucks. Yeah, I feel like... yeah, this feels a little bit like an Aroni and Nakamura kind of situation. It feels like one of those endings, doesn't it? Just waiting for not going to make a touch move mistake. Check. Check. Snap. Don't panic. Material's even. Maybe we can improve the king, like bang, bang, bang. Then he'll go 93 check, though. I may have no way in with the king. So, though it does look bad for black. He's kind of in the Zugzwang situation here. He will get a little bit of counterplay. So let's go with king. Well, I'm going to snap that one anyway. Pawn number 2. Oh, he hung the mate this time. There's 2 mates. It was like, just puts himself out of his misery. Alright, man. Good game. I'm sorry I can't play the rest of you guys, but got to draw the line somewhere. So was bishop e5 better? Bishop f6 looked like the right try. I don't know. Bishop e5 better? It's funny. I didn't look at that move. Bishop e5 better. No, I think bishop e5 just like dies pretty quickly. I would imagine. I mean, I would think rook g6 is awful strong. After bishop e5, rook g6, and he can't defend h6 at all. So I don't think so. It should be lost for black. It should be lost. Those pieces are too strong. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Thanks for Sarontier. And everybody, all the regs here. And I hope that we didn't bore you guys with our suspicions and whatnot. But most of the stream was good today. We'll be back Thursday on the 4th of August, 6:30 p.m. And we'll decide when to do the simul, Friday night or Sunday. All right, thanks again, guys. We'll see you soon. I'm out of here.